What's up, everybody? Shawn here with another Live to Roll Live. Welcome, everybody. We got our friend and Triumph family member over here with us, joining us today. We'll do some quick intros and then we'll get into some new injury support. So I am Shawn, a C5, C6 quad from a snowboarding accident 17 years ago. Tom, you want to say what's up?
What's up? Shawn looking fresh in that Live to Roll merch. Bunch of new stuff coming out. Get ready. Make sure you get up on some pretty soon. Coming up at the Abilities Expo and stuff. Sorry, I just wanted to do a little merch shout out right there. These shirts look good. I'm Tom Conway. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here and joining us. I'm a C5, C6 quad down here in Southern California. And yeah, excited to talk with our friend Lewis. And do you mind giving us a little intro, our returning guest?
Absolutely. Thanks, Tom. Guys, it's great to be here again. My name is Luis. I've been injured for 40 years. I'm a L3, L4 incomplete, and I was injured when I was ejected from an oil rig. So I took a long fall, went way out, and I went splash when I hit the ground. So I have some paralysis from the waist to the knees and completely from the knees down, but I am what we call a SCI walker. So I walk and roll.
Yes, sir. Awesome. That's what we'll talk about, that kind of stuff too, and the importance of even regaining function like you have, but the importance of still rolling, like you said, walk and roll.
Yes.
And shout out the chat real quick before we get fully started. Andrew, how's it going? Good to see you all the time. Ben, welcome, and thank you for the super chat. As you're always coming in and helping out, we appreciate you. And
Ben,
Mom,
you're awesome, dude.
Awesome.
Message me and let me know when we can figure out a time to video chat, hang out, and do a little sesh or something. Because me and Shawn want to do that soon.
Yeah, dude, definitely get in contact, Ben.
Yeah, Ben, Donna.
So, yes.
Hi, Donna. What's up, everybody else? Well, let's dive into it, you guys. And I don't know, I'm going to put you guys on the spot to start. But let's just talk about our experiences a little bit early on in our injury, and some aspects of it. Big topic that we usually jump into is acceptance. Like, it's difficult to accept this new significant life change. And when I say significant, I mean everybody who's gone through it knows everything changes, really, and change can be tough. So. We're going to put Shawn on the spot to start us off, if you don't mind, Luis. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, bro?
Yeah, man. Honestly, acceptance is definitely one of the biggest things, I think, for sure, and one of the hardest things to deal with in the beginning.
What was your experience with that?
So, yeah, for me, I know that, honestly, I don't know if I can pinpoint the exact day that I felt at ease with my injury. I think it kind of gradually happened over time. But I think that's the way it has to happen. I don't think just one day you're going to wake up and be like, hey, you know what? Life is okay today. Which I mean, that is good. That's what you want to do. But honestly, it takes time and it takes some work to get there. Honestly, it takes accepting little things, I think, is what really it starts with. Okay, this is harder for me to do, but let me adapt and figure it out. And then once you accept that, okay, I can do this, and this is how I have to do this now for my life. You can kind of start doing more. And then, I think for me, it took a couple of years. Actually, it might even taken up to 3 years or so. And when I started kind of getting associated with the rugby guys and playing the disability sports, is when I really felt at ease. I think I felt comfortable in my skin, in my chair, I guess. And that's one of the things that really, I think, helped me with the acceptance was just that, I got back to life. I got back to okay, I'm doing sports again. I'm active. I'm back out with my friends. And that's once I started living my life again and being able to get out a little bit more, the acceptance came more and more and was easier. But yeah, that is such a big deal, because if you fight it in your head all the time and you're always fighting the fact that you're in a wheelchair and you're hating it, you're just never going to really be able to enjoy the finer things in life.
That's it. You said
So,
it. How about you, Luis?
For me, it was a little bit different. We hear from a lot of the psychologists and the therapists that we work with in rehab as we're going through that rehab that, well, everybody has depression, and you have to find that acceptance within you. And for me, it was a little bit different. It was kind of like the opposite of what Shawn was. I accepted it right away, like almost day one. I was like cool with it because I knew I was going to live. I survived, like most of us. I survived something that should have killed me, and we're all kind of in that boat. And um, so I was happy. I was glad. Um, Within a couple of months, I knew that I would walk, even though I couldn't at the time, but it was because of my injuries, healing, surgeries, things like that. I wasn't allowed to walk right away because I had to have the healing process finished before they could start because of the nature of the injuries. I had a body jacket, casts on both arms, both legs, surgery on both legs and arms, and everything else. So they were like no weight bearing right away. You have to heal first, but I knew it would come someday. So everything was great right away. I got I actually went to college while I was in rehab. I got an apartment while I was still in rehab. I became a volunteer at Rancho Los Amigos while I was in rehab. I got married while I was still in rehab. I was an inpatient for 2 years,
Oh
which
wow.
people think, oh,
yeah,
that
that's
can't be possible. It's because of I was workers' comp, and it was an oil company who oil
Oh yeah.
companies have money, and they'll pay whatever it takes. So everything's
plus
going great.
40 years
Life
ago
is
was a little
good,
different on
getting
that.
better. So I was just fine with what was happening because I was getting better. And then at about the 2 year point, things changed. I wasn't getting any better. I was staying the same. And that's when emotionally I changed and I regressed. I became the person you didn't want to be around, and, Shawn talks about sports. Sports were great, but I had a difficult time dealing with other people. So I left sports because of those relationships,
Yeah.
and I stopped hanging around the disability community and trying and go it out on my own. And I just became worse and worse person because of that. I don't know how you guys dealt with your family and your friends, and how was it for you guys?
My situation is really unique. The whole acceptance thing came a lot later in my injury. I was injured when I was 4, and when you are in your adolescence, I don't know, you just don't really think about things like that. Like I, I understood my injury and what like I think I began to understand the implications, but not really because I wasn't thinking about my future in my life. I was just thinking about living and being a kid, and like I was just adjusting and adapting, just like kids do. And the acceptance thing didn't really come until probably my teenage years, around like 14 or 15, when I was really beginning to think about like college and life after, like as I was getting older, life as an adult. What this would mean for me as an adult. What had I lost and never even had the chance to have. Um, and I, quickly learned, I had to stop thinking about it like that because everything is in reach of, your work. If you work hard enough and you have the will and the perseverance to pursue it. And then it was just accepting the situation, figuring it out, and understanding the elements and the variables and what I needed to do to, live life as like I wanted to. And it was a rough couple of years. I regress too. Luis, like my parents could tell you, like I got pretty depressed, like my sophomore, junior, senior year. It was pretty
Mm-hmm.
hard. Um, and how I got through it, like love and support from the most amazing, family in the world. Like I say it every day because it's true. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world because I do have really great support. My mom and dad from day one, my injury, uh, supported me, and I have awesome brother and sister, amazing, friends and family that, lift me up all the time and lifted me up when I was down. Um, so that not everybody has that, but it really does help. Seeking and finding support, whether it's family, friends, professional, otherwise. It's impossible to do it alone, and it's okay to ask for help. It's not an easy thing for some people, but it's something that we generally have to figure out and accept. Um, but yeah, that was my experience with it. What did you ask, Louis?
Well, I was going to ask about for you, Tom, um, having your disability at such a young age. What was it like dealing with people? Because kids can be really rough on other kids. And
Um,
did you get a lot of grief from other kids your age?
the adolescent experience was a unique one for sure. I was injured 4 days before I was supposed to start kindergarten, so I missed the first. I was did rehab for 6 months following my injury, which sounds pretty unheard of today too. But I was at Oakland Children's Hospital for 6 months, recovering and doing rehab, and then I went back mid-year. My mom stuck me back in a normal class. They were going to put me in a special education uh, plan at first, but my mom wanted me to be in like a normal social environment, and they wanted her to just like adapt the classroom to make it work for me in there, and she did. And she had him do it,
That's
and
cool.
it was great. Kids can be weird and like a little crass, but the first day my mom like went in with me and she explained in the class what my injury was, and that I was going to be in a chair and I might be doing some things differently, but I was just the same kid, just like all of them, and everyone was great. Like there was a lot of questions, like how did it happen? Why are you in a wheelchair? Stuff like that. But I've always been very social, and I have a pretty good sense of humor. So I'd always kind of use this humor and stuff to, kind of make levity of it a little bit. And kids can be brutal, but there's also something very unique about kids, and like their interest and their curiosity is just pure and it's genuine and it's honest. It's not like some adult staring at you. Who's like seen disabled people their whole life and can't like peel their eyes away. But when a kid comes up and asks, like, genuine curiosity and interest, and just like honesty, like there's nothing that ever felt weird about that. Um, and all my teachers were pretty great. The teachers were actually kind of the ones that were a little weirder than the kids. So like my fourth grade teacher had a pretty hard time with me, only because I just had difficulty adapting the curriculum in the class to a different kind of kid. But I felt bad because there were lots of different kinds of kids in the classroom, and there were
Yeah.
lots of them that were not probably getting the instruction that was the right kind of instruction at the time. But the teenage years were probably harder. Like going through like puberty and like
Yeah.
that stuff was tough. I felt very different, super ostracized from all the other kids. And when it came to like girls and things like that, it was like I just felt like an outcast. I felt like an oddball, and that was pretty tough. It took me a long time to like find my confidence and like feel good about myself. And I mean, it's something I still struggle with to a certain extent to this day. But that's like and that's the thing about recovery too. I'm gonna stop talking here in a minute because I'll just talk forever. But it recovery is it's an ongoing thing. Acceptance comes in the beginning, but you got to keep accepting stuff for the whole rest of your life because it's constantly learning and changing and adapting and adjusting to your new body, um, and it doesn't really stop. Let me tell you.
I appreciate what you said about being an outcast because I felt that way myself. I felt like an outlier to the community, like I didn't really belong, and it made me angry. And other people would get angry. People would be like, "Hey, uh, you shouldn't be here." There were people that wanted me to get into more. active sports, like Paralympics and high end wheelchair basketball and stuff like that. When there were coaches on other teams saying, "Hey, he shouldn't be allowed because he's not disabled enough,"
Yeah,
and
that
it was gamesmanship in the game, head games, and I didn't take it well.
Yeah, no,
I
Yeah,
think
definitely. Yeah,
that's I was gonna say I think that's still a problem even now in the disability community a little bit. Like there's that
it still
area of,
exists.
like,
Yeah,
some people, and some of it is like, and it's not right, but it's people they're jealous, I think. You see somebody that gets function back and can walk, and you're like, oh well, like you want that too, but you don't realize they're still dealing with all the things SCI deals with. They still have to deal with the bowel, bladder. I mean, Luis, I'm sure, yeah, you
exactly.
can explain. You have all the issues that everybody else does, and it's just not as visible, so it's even harder, kind of. So,
yeah,
But some of the tough parts too is the judgment. So
mm-hmm.
I find that even ourselves, the SEI community and the disability community, are just as judgmental as the able-bodied community, and we can say some pretty rough things to and about each other. One of my favorites is when they argue about, well, is it polio who's more disabled, or is it SCIs? Is it CP or spinal bifida? And you get these interdisability arguments, and
Yeah,
we don't
Hmm.
see it like we used to, but it's still out there a little bit.
Yeah.
yeah,
The struggle that I have with that is like these odd classifications, like levels of disability. I would say I'm a pretty high level quad, but other quads like C5s would look at me and be like, "Bro, like like you're crazy. Like you have so much function, um, you know." Um, and it really like every spinal cord injury is different, but the thing that bothers me is like that judgment. Not so much from people or other people with disabilities, but like I've got it from the healthcare industry. Like when
oh
I
yeah,
moved out, I was honest about what I wanted to do. Like I was going to school and I was moving out, like getting education. But my mom and dad had done my care for all my life, and I needed a
Yeah,
caregiver. And my insurance, who had just been paying for my supplies and stuff for the past 16, 17 years, are like, "What do you mean you need a caregiver now?" And they're like, "You said you're moving out, you're going to college. It sounds like you're pretty active. Like, the only way you can get daily care is to basically be homebound." And I'm like,
yeah,
well, I'm not, but I still need daily care, Like, I'm sorry, like my
yeah.
bladder malfunction, like it doesn't exist. Like I need help. Um,
I still
and
need help. Yeah.
still, like I only get 2 days a week from my insurance for my my daily care, and I supplement the rest by HSS and other stuff. But that's not the point. They discriminated against me and they put me in a category, and they said I
Yeah.
wasn't disabled enough. When like I am disabled enough to warrant daily care if that's what I need to stay healthy. Like
Yeah.
that kind of discrimination is very bothersome to me because a lot of people face it and um, they end up not getting the necessary care and
and
that's tough.
and that's one thing we should definitely touch on today is that's what is happening to a lot of people that are newly injured right now. People get lost in the system. They don't get the right care. They're at a bad facility with bad, like somebody that doesn't know, and it's just it can really affect the outcome of somebody's recovery in life.
So
Yes.
anybody facing this new and early on, like the really important things to take into consideration before you leave the hospital, the two essentials that you need is a wheelchair, access to your house or your home or your apartment, whatever it is. And if that means like a ramp or modifications or even moving sometimes, like that's what
Hmm.
needs to happen. And then, some coordination of your care before you leave the hospital because real life starts when you get home. Like that
Yep.
is when the real rehabilitation begins because it's one thing
Yes.
being in the hospital, having nurses and family and like assistants all the time, but it's a different thing being stuck at home, and having to figure it out. Like that's the realness right there, and it can be tough. And in order for it to the transition to go a lot smoother, coordination needs to happen before you go home. Now it's tough today because they give you 2 weeks of recovery and rehab in the hospital generally. And they'll
Yeah, and
try to
then they
steal
throw a
it.
catheter in your face and say good luck.
Now, some hospitals are better. Not you don't know where you're going to get injured or where you're going to end up, though. But that's a tough thing. But the best thing you can
Yeah,
do is, contact someone. If you can't advocate for yourself, you need to get someone who understands spinal cord injury and can advocate on your behalf. There are organizations like we mentioned at the beginning. We're all a part of the Triumph family, and do a lot of networking and work with individuals coming right out of while they're in the hospital. Before they come out. Um,
hmm
but if you are finding yourself overwhelmed, they're talking to you about wheelchairs and care and all this stuff, and you're just trying to like heal and recover. Like having someone there who understands some of this stuff can make or break the situation.
exactly. That, like in Triumph Foundation, we meet people as they're sometimes just before they go to rehab, but usually it's while they're in rehab or at the end of rehab. And in Triumph, we call ourselves the continuum of care post rehab, because once you say goodbye to the rehab center, you're likely not going to see those people too much after that. You might go back for a visit once in a while, maybe a few therapy sessions once or twice a year for a year or two, maybe. Not everybody gets that.
Yeah.
And with Triumph and other organizations, but ours, because we talk about it that's this much and we're all part of that, we're there when they come home. We help them with ramps. We help them find maybe a new doctor because they can't go back to the rehab center, but they need to find a urologist someplace else. Or they want some additional therapy, and where we can help them find another program that's not, quote, a hospital, but more of a therapeutic gym,
Yeah.
and help them get into places.
The
Discover
big
programs that'll help them go to school or go back to work.
And the big thing I think is knowing you got to ask for it. You got to ask to stay in the
Yeah.
hospital as long as you can. You got to ask for as much rehab as they'll give you. Say you're not ready to go. Because like in reality, almost all of us are not ready. Until we are
No.
ready, until we feel like we're
Yeah,
ready. And if you don't feel that way, say it, speak it. Say it out loud because if you let them the hospital business, it's a business. And,
yes.
they're working to pinch as many pennies as they can and save as much money as possible unless you speak up and advocate for yourself. Or,
The
you like tell
insurance is only
others,
going to pay
maybe,
a certain amount. And once they
yeah,
pay that, they want you to move on. And the hospital is getting pressed by the insurance company to get you out, and when you can voice it to them, hey, I'm not ready yet, which hopefully most you patients will say that, I'm not ready to go home yet. I still need to work on my transfers, my bowel and bladder program. My bowel management program isn't working for me. You guys need to help me figure out a different way of
my
doing it.
wheelchair isn't ready yet. My wheelchair hasn't arrived. Like, I need
Yeah.
to wait for my
Exactly.
wheelchair before you send me home. Like, paralyzed. Like, that's
Yeah.
just, simple stuff.
Has the hospital sent someone to do a home evaluation to see if there's anything you need to even get in the house when you leave the hospital?
Yeah, those
You
are
know,
Yeah. I
super
don't think a lot of
important.
people are getting the proper stuff like that. Like they're not doing those steps most of
Well,
the
you got
time.
a million other things to worry about on top of the hospital, like throwing bills at your face or saying, you're incurring an impossible debt. But what I have to say to
yeah,
that is, your concern isn't to worry about money right now, nor is it like the family's concern to worry about money. If the money, racks up and the bills go up, they'll be there. They're gonna come and collect from you right now. And there's
yeah,
tons of ways to figure the debt situation out afterwards. But don't let them intimidate you or scare you with that because there is no cost or price you can put on your body and like
yes,
like that early recovery process because it can be very meaningful and like the next few years of your life and your transition is those first few months and the care and the treatment that you get. It's so important.
Yeah, and some people might want like they want to get home and just want to get out of there and stuff, but it's really important to get the information, like especially on your just basics, bowel and bladder. Um, you know, if you don't know how to do your basic care when you get home, it's not going to be a fun time because you're going to have a
Yeah.
And,
really really rough time trying to rehab at home like that.
It-
and the reality,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead, Luke.
Tom.
You go, bro. You go. You're the guest.
Well, I was going to say just what Shawn mentioned about people coming home from rehab and they don't know how to do their bladder and bowel management. And when I first met Triumph Foundation and Andrew Skinner, this is what Andrew was describing to me. And I was like, how can that be? How is that? Because of the situation I had, I just assumed everybody had the same level of, rehab I did. And it's not true. And
No.
people were coming home not knowing how to go poop. Everybody's got to poop one way or the other. And if the hospital's not teaching you, who's going to show you how? You
Well,
know?
the next step of that too is bowel care supplies aren't even covered by insurance.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
another
God,
big.
yes.
That's another
And
huge
that is
thing.
just
Yeah.
insane. You're expected to go we go to CVS and Rite Aid to buy your supplies, or nowadays I guess order them off Amazon and then try to figure it out on your own. It's just the expectation is unreal, and I mean it's not, there are better examples of different healthcare systems around the world. If anybody watching is part of one of them, I hope it's better. But the reality is that it's just kind of tough here in America right
Yeah.
now, and you really have to own it yourself. I say it all the time, you are your best advocate, and it's really a matter of learning the stuff, learning it yourself. And what I kind of want to start to talk about, ask you guys about a little bit is the most commonly the first caregivers, the people you learn this stuff with, they learn it at the hospital, and you got to help teach you is your family members.
Yeah.
Family's usually the first caregivers, the first ones there, um, and that can be tough because
Yeah.
you're going through a trauma, but your family is your close loved ones are also going through pretty significant trauma too, um, and that can be tough. It can be a really hard situation.
That's one of the things we talk about in the support groups. For those of you that don't know, uh, Triumph Foundation, we provide maybe 16 different support groups at, you know, a dozen, 15 different hospitals across Southern California. So we have a lot of groups and we run into this all the time. It's not just the patient going through the spinal cord injury. It's the
Mm-mm.
wife, the husband, the kids, the parents, the brothers and sisters, and they don't know how to help their family member. They're universally unprepared in how to do this. And so we invite people to come to the support groups. Ask your peer mentor, your friend who's helping you discover how to live with spinal cord injury, to talk to your family and friends, talk to your spouse, bring them to the support group. It's really important um, that people learn what the situation is from those that live it. It
Yeah,
changes your entire outlook.
absolutely. What you were talking about earlier, community and acceptance and feeling ostracized and normal like community space, because we are a little bit different. But and I gotta say, one of the big things that helped make me feel good and make me feel better was when I moved out and came down here to Southern California. I found the disability community down here, and I had never been a part of the disability community before in my life because I was just part of my family and my family's community and stuff. And but there is something so liberating and such a good, amazing feeling you get from going and talking to other quads and other people with spinal cord injuries and other people with disabilities and their family, and because we're all going through it together. But finding that, reaching out to that community, and if you can do it early on, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not always the easiest thing. Part of me when I was younger, I see someone else in a wheelchair, I'm like, I don't want to go hang out with this person because I'm afraid they're gonna associate I was always trying to play off the whole wheelchair thing. Uh,
Yeah,
but now I'm loud and proud about it because it's a part of me and it's a part of my life. But finding this community and seeing other individuals living their life in such a amazing way, that was like my inspiration to get my stuff together, and to really accept another part of myself that I hadn't in 20 years of being disabled. It's crazy.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Shawn.
Oh, you guys, it, it's
We're
Well,
rolling with it.
what we were talking about, what I was going to ask you about, Sean, was your family and like their process in your rehab and recovery, how it was for them and
uh,
their experience with that.
yeah. So I guess I can touch on that too. My family, I actually had great support. Honestly, I had a huge support of family and friends. In fact, I had so much support and friends and stuff coming to the hospital that every roommate they tried to put me with complained. So they ended up just having to give me my own room because nobody wanted a room with the traffic coming through my room.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I am extremely grateful and thankful for. I had family there all the time. My mom was living in Ohio at the time and pretty much moved out here and lived in a hotel across the street from the hotel with me for the couple months I was there. And just, I had uh, a lot of help and support. And then going home, I went back to my dad's house and same thing. My dad was very helpful for the years, my first few years there. My brothers helped out as much as they could. Some they were young, so it was it's hard when like they were all 18, 17, like it was tough
Yeah.
years, but still they were very close and they were there for me anytime I really needed them. They always took me out and helped me and got me out into the world more, kept me in a positive mindset, kept me happy and stuff. So yeah, I honestly am extremely grateful and thankful for my family and friends. I would say anybody. And so one other thing I will note, I did go through, like you guys said, like you go through that time of like, cause I did, it was kind of hard to accept that first couple years. So I was like, there was definitely some bad attitude and some short answers and some, which I was still guilty of. Like I still have to like tell my, I can get frustrated and things and just try, usually I'll just try not to, I try to just keep it down. But
You know what,
but that
bro?
was one of the things I had to figure out in the beginning was, because your friends and family, they're there to help you. They love you. They're caring. You can't be a dick. You can't
Yes.
be mad that they did something wrong or whatever. Like if they're trying and they just did it wrong because they didn't quite learn it right the first time or whatever it is, like you just have to, like be a loving family member and friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you bring up an interesting point because it's hard to support someone when you sometimes don't know how to. Like the it's an interesting kind of trauma, like it's a unique form of loss that you experience, and it can be, as mentally challenging as it is physically challenging.
Yeah.
So you know, being understanding of that, being a loved one, and trying to figure out how to love and support in the right way. Like it's a balance, and what I say is the solution to figure out how to do that, because I don't think there's any like one answer you can give. Is talk to others, reach out to some groups, and talk to other family members that have gone through this process, because hindsight is always 2020. Like like looking back, you learn so much. Like you wish you
Yeah.
could have done things differently or said things differently, and also accepting like certain realities in certain situations. I was so fortunate. Like my mom is a nurse, so I had a nurse at home to
There
take
you
care of
go.
the best care in the world. Not everybody is capable of performing that kind of skilled nursing care that's required for quads and
It's
some
true.
parent stuff. Accepting that you need help, like sure you can be there to support and help out, every way you can, but where you can't, like it's okay to say I need help and hire an outside caregiver and outside support. Sometimes like finding that balance is essential. No mom or dad or family member or husband or wife or brother or sister could do it all 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 a year. I'm sure they want to and they might try to, but there is no way any
Mhm.
human can do that. And accepting and understanding that's super important. Like, hey, I need some help. I got to bring in some help. And the individuals that is receiving the care, you know, that it can be tough. I remember I cried the first time I had a outside caregiver come in who wasn't my mom when I was like 13 years old. But my parents needed a weekend getaway. They had spent 10 years
Yeah.
taking care of us and, being full time. Like they needed a break. Like they were at a breaking point. And, it's just like, hey, got to accept it and move on. And, that was like the start of me learning how to be an adult. Like, accept I was going to need care, in the future as an adult and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a big part of understanding your cares, understanding the limits too.
Yeah, we have to
Yeah.
be careful in that the people that want to help us, they don't know how. And sometimes we have to be honest, they don't want to. See,
Yeah.
and they don't always know what to say or how to say it. Um, very quickly, my brother and my father and I had battles you would not believe. I mean, they would end with like, "So when did you go to medical school?" I would actually say that to my father. My father would say, "Well, you're not really disabled. You can walk. Your paralysis is all in your head. This whole thing about your bowel and bladder, you're just not trying hard enough." And I would tell him, "So when did you go to medical school? What program did you graduate from? How do you know more than the rehab center does? Things like that." So there was quite some time, a couple of years, my brother and my father and I, we just didn't speak. We had no relationship, and it took a number of years. Um, it's since I've been with Triumph, and my brother was visiting, I would drag my brother to the Triumph support groups, and I would make him go with me and sit there. And you guys know the groups. We say, "Hi, my name's Lewis. My name's Tom. This is my level. My name's Shawn. This is my level." And my brother would say, "My name's Richard, and I'm here to support Luis." And it was from going to those groups, my brother and I's relationship actually changed. So he discovered that there was more to disability than what he thought it was. And by meeting doctors and therapists and those in the group, patients and ambassadors and whatnot, it really changed things. And before my brother passed away, we had a wonderful relationship because of the support groups. It made all the difference in the world for us. And I hope those out there that have those tough relationships, whether it's their sibling or a parent or a spouse or their kids, take them with you to the group. Have them meet your SCI friends. Have them be part of your community. It makes a world of difference. Really does.
Yeah, it provides
Yeah.
them, I think, like some needed perspective on your situation. Hearing about what other people are going through can really paint a pretty vivid picture of, like maybe what like your loved one is going through too. But also,
Yeah.
like I always say when you get a chance to meet another like family member, another person with SCI, there's usually a unique connection. Just like the unique connection we all, spinal cord injured homies have. Like, like the family members all have a unique connection too. And, having a close relative who's paralyzed. And it's just there's an understanding, what they're going through. You feel it, you know it. And that is a unique thing and it's a unique bond. But it can be super helpful if you're feeling a little lost and you need someone to talk to too. Oh,
Yeah.
but man, I remember like my mom, bless her heart, she was like my primary caregiver, and we would get up. She was a nurse. She'd work AM shifts, so she would have to be at work at 6:30, and we would get up and do my bladder and bowel care at 4:45 every day,
Yeah.
a week.
Damn.
And some of those mornings were tough. But she'd wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and it's a unique thing with family members too, because like you can really you know how to dig with family. You know what
Well, like your mother was your nurse. was a nurse. I married one of my nurses,
Yeah,
which was
Luis.
which was a whole different thing, you know. And now both our two sons, who are about the same age as you two guys, they're nurses.
Yeah,
so
Crazy.
that's
so
funny. Your family
man,
just.
I got nurses all over the place, man.
But the number of mornings my mom would be like, I'm done with you. I'm not doing this anymore. And she'd go, and my dad would come in and finish my care and help me out. Oh my goodness, all those mornings. But,
Yeah,
one thing that I had to learn, and, it's really a hard thing to do when you're a kid, is learn patience. Like patience and understanding, and then
yes,
perspective. When I'm really struggling, like the first thing I try to do now is put myself in the other person's shoes and like try to feel what they're feeling, because like that gives me some serious perspective. Like my mom, is there like sacrificing, like working to help me out, and it's not that she doesn't want to do it. It's just that she's tired and she's hurting, and she's at the
yeah.
end of a long work week, and she's got two other kids who are like the same age as me, and like it's just like it's too much and it's a lot. And
She's got work and laundry and care, and you
oh,
Oh,
did we lose Lewis?
Luis froze for a sec. But yeah, I totally agree, dude. I'm sure your mom and you guys had some rough times, and that was the way it was even in the beginning for me. That's the way I think it is for everybody. That's the struggle you have to deal with, when we start. It's just getting
Yeah.
like kind of getting used to the feel of that, and then getting used to being that vulnerable and that dependent on somebody for help and care is another big part of it.
And also understanding like hey, this isn't how it's got to be forever. I used to not be able to do any of my care, and I used to not be able to transfer, dress myself, do anything. I used to not be able to cath independently. Like feed myself, like everything. Everybody goes through. At least most high level quads do. But understanding like hey, like I can learn this stuff, and I'm not always gonna have to depend on this person, or I'm not always gonna have to depend on them all the time. Maybe it's only gonna be some of the time, but understanding that that's gonna take time, setting realistic goals for yourself. It's like baby steps every day. Like like you practice, you work, and like in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years, the progress that you'll make will, like you look back and be like, man, I can't even believe what I used to need help with. But
Yeah.
it takes time, and that's the hard thing about it, is there's only one way to learn independence and learn those skills that allow you to be, and that's to put in the work and the time. And it is not easy. It is not always easy. Some days it
No.
is, some days it isn't. You know,
It
but
takes that
understand.
time and patience, man. You got sometimes like you got to be so patient some days because it's just like
And Sean and I will both tell you, like we're both, about as independent as we can be. But both of us, still need help. I still got my caregivers that come, like 4 or 5 days a week and help me with my stuff. Like, I still gotta like accept reality. Like, yeah, sure, I can like do my laundry and fold it, but it's gonna take me like 4 times as long. Like I might need some help with that. Like, um, and
and that's
just
yeah, that's the thing too with independence is trying like and we've talked about this before is finding your balance. For me, once I started gaining independence and like really kind of being able to do stuff for myself, that was honestly like a drug for me. Like it was like addictive to learn more stuff. Like the
yeah,
more I could do for myself, like I felt great about it. Like it was
yeah,
like such a sense of accomplishment. But then it got to the point where I was overdoing myself. Like I would work so hard to get my care done through the day, and so now that I've gotten older and a little wiser, I would think, um, I've learned to balance that more. Like it's good to have the caregivers come in. It's good to have help. Like it's good to take help when you have it. Like you don't have to
yeah.
do it on your own every single time. Like it's good that you know how to do it, and it's good that you can do it. But sometimes that struggle is tough, and it's nice to have somebody save you 10 minutes of effort, and they can do it in 30 seconds.
Like a lot of days, like when I got a busy day ahead, like, I got to save up that energy that it would take to do my care and to get up in the morning for what I got to do later in the day. So that day, I have to have my caregiver come and help me out with the process, because I've got a lot of stuff to do later and I need to have the energy to do it. It's not that I can't, but like after I'm done with my daily care, like I can be pretty down and out. Like my arms and my body is like, bro, I hope you don't got too much planned today because I'm hurting, and I just feel kind of drained and out of it. But those days that I do it, I don't have to depend on a caregiver, and I can just do my own thing, and not have to have some outside person come and invade my space. Like it's just like you, dude. Like I revel in it, man. Like it's almost like a drug. Like the more I do and learn to do, it lends to other skills. It lends to more independence in different ways. It just makes me want to do more. Um, so yeah, it's cool stuff.
Yeah, no, it's totally, it is like it's just, it feels good when you can do stuff on your own, like it makes you feel good about yourself. Like it makes you feel like you've accomplished something. And um but yeah, it is just a matter of finding, you don't want to overwork your body and be in pain and stuff because you're just overdoing it. So
I
it's
want to shout
important.
out a couple things. Yo, Ben, another super chat, bro. Thanks, man. Well, we appreciate the love, dude. She's so cool.
I know, let's do that.
Uh, I I wanted to say what up to what's her name, Cheryl?
Yeah, Cheryl, her son's
Sorry,
birthday. Happy
the
birthday.
chat. I lost your name. What's up?
And Cheryl is actually one of my caregivers from years ago, actually. She
Okay,
was a
super
caregiver of
cool.
mine like almost 10 years
Happy
ago.
birthday to your son. It's so awesome. It was Robert's 12th birthday. I remember being 12 years old. Oh, how time flies, you guys. That is an old man.
And we got Peter in the chat as usual. Peter's always back.
Yeah, what's up, Peter? It's really great to see you, man. Hope
Olivia
everything's
Black
great.
Olive.
And Olivia. Hi, Olivia. Hope work's going good. I'm assuming that's where you're at right now. Or on your way home,
Uh,
hopefully. Yeah.
and Andrew mentioned something too. Let's get real quick. We'll go on. Andrew mentioned that he hasn't been had a girl ask him out since his injury, but most girls aren't going to ask you out. Like it's hard, you have to go out there and you have to ask, you have to approach them and talk to them and stuff. So that's one of the things for sure. Like it's hard to get a girl to ask you out.
And
Just
especially early on, like I'm not trying to, I like don't take this wrong, but like earlier in your injury, like, and if you're like struggling health wise, like it's just not the focus. Like you should be where you're focusing your energy at the time.
yeah.
Especially early on, like you need to be worrying about your recovering and your body, and it's okay to be selfish, and like it's
And
just a lot of
honestly,
people.
that recovery and like getting back to your life, getting yourself back, that's
That's
going
what
to
starts
build
to
your
attract
confidence, and
confidence.
that's what's going to end up attracting women. So that's or
Yeah, learning to live life again. There, I feel like in order to have a healthy balance in a relationship, you got to understand your care. You got to understand the balance, with your care and your situation, your life, and your health, in order for a relationship to work. Because if you're spending a lot of energy and time working on your health and working on balancing your caregiving and working on, like figuring out that stuff, you're not going to be able to maintain a relationship. And I'm not saying it can't be done. And a lot of people are in relationships when they are injured, and some people, can maintain it, stick through it. Some people can't, and you know, if it's just tough, and every situation is different, and every person is different. But your your energy really needs to be focused on the recovery process early on. I believe. And I think your
yeah.
partner can understand that too. If you are in a relationship, it's like, hey, like, sorry, I'm not going to be able to do as much to contribute to this relationship right now because I got a lot of stuff I need help, focusing on and figuring out. If they love you, they're the right person for you. They'll be there to help and support you too. Uh,
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's the important thing. Like, if they really care about you, they're gonna want the best for you, and the best for you. Honestly, it sucks, but you do kind of have to put life on hold for that first year, even 2 years sometimes, because that rehab process and learning how to relive with your body, is how you're gonna get your life back and get back
and
to.
it's full time. It's more than full time. It is like every hour, every minute, every day early on. It really is because you learn how to live again. and it's like being a baby, like learning the basics, like really, and it just takes a lot of time and energy. So that's gonna be like it's really important for the partner to understand that too. Like hey, you gotta sacrifice a little bit on that side of things in order to support someone going through such significant trauma, just because it's the reality of the situation. They're going to be taking care of themselves full time for a while. But anyways, peace out, Andrew. Have a good night, man. I know you always join us from the UK. We appreciate you being here so often, though, and your input, man. So thanks.
We'll try that for.
The gym can be a great place to meet the ladies. No doubt, man. That's a good spot. Go show off those guns and check out those ladies in the sports bras and the yoga pants, or check out those hard body guys working out, or whatever your preference.
That's right. Yeah, dude, whatever. And yeah, dude, so actually, speaking of this, since we're sort of talking about dating right now, next week's show is actually going to be relationships and dating, and we have two girls on, a quad and a para. So we're gonna get a whole perspective from all of us. So just so you guys know, we can come back next week and we'll continue this conversation.
Yeah, if you guys in the
in
chat,
more detail.
If you know you're going to be here next week, come up with some questions you want to ask us. Come with some good questions for us.
Yeah, and shoot us the questions beforehand if you want. I can get them ready, and that's
absolutely.
totally cool.
Or even aspects and topics like related to it that you like maybe want us to touch on specifically. We do our best. Like main man Shawn up here prepares questions and topics every week for the show, but sometimes it is an hour, and I feel like we miss out on some important stuff. So if there is anything specific you guys want us to touch on, always feel free to reach out and be like, hey, I want you guys to talk about this, or whatever.
Yeah, we are definitely always open for your input. So yeah, and so we can get back to some of the, I guess, a little bit of last minute help. We can kind of close off with some stuff, because I don't know if Luis is coming back or not. He seems to have froze his computer.
Maybe the internet dropped out. That's too bad.
He might have had like a full crash.
Say sometimes, I don't know, Spectrum, they're not so great out here.
Yeah, and that's honestly what worries me. I've been worried about that, and we've had a couple issues on shows where my internet has gone down, which that's worse because the whole show drops. But yeah, no worries. We'll get it back. And one of the reasons why I invited Luis, just to give you guys some background, Luis is a big time ambassador for Triumph. He's been all through COVID. He's been actually dropping off our resource backpacks to hospitals. He hasn't been able to go in and visit until recently, but he's been a staple in Triumph, and he does a lot to help the community. And he's got 40 years of experience, and he knows a lot and been around for a while. So he's helped quite a few.
Well, let's each give a little bit of last minute advice for some like recovery period, newly injured. My last minute advice would be, I don't know. I just always think you got to be kind of preparing for the next steps. Like I think preparation is key in life, and like being a quad or being like a pair is like it's all about preparation and having things ready, and that means just setting yourself up for success. It's tough to get the caregiver situation down, but put some time and energy in early on to figure out and find some balance with it, because your body changes, things change, but finding stability as quick as possible is gonna let you have the energy and the mindset to work on other stuff, really important stuff. But when you're struggling with accidents and bowel and bladder stuff, it's like so hard to work on other independent skills and other rehab stuff. And finding a good spinal cord injury doctor is super, super important. It's a unique kind of doctor. It's called a physiatrist, not a podiatrist, but a physiatrist. And it's a doctor of physical medicine. And a lot of them are pain management rehab specialists, PRMNs, but there are physiatrists that have specialty in spinal cord injury, and those are the ones you're going to want to get to. And it's not always the easiest this day and age in finding a good spinal cord injury doctor, but that's where you or some family members, people can advocate for you. You're going to have to step up because it's super important. And it's just really a matter of demanding it from your insurance. if the doctor you are not at, you feel like has knowledge or comprehensive knowledge of spinal cord injury, tell your insurance and say that he's not the right guy for me. And it doesn't matter if it takes a doctor or two to get there. It's just what you need. But it can be super important in understanding bladder, bowel health, like pain management,
Yeah.
like all aspects of your injury. Right, Sean?
Yeah, because if the doctor doesn't understand what you're going through, especially like so with us with quads, not a lot of doctors even understand autonomic dysreflexia. It's like AD as a thing. So like if you don't like, and that's such a big thing in our life and can affect us. Oh, you know what? Luis is actually coming back on. Let me
And
let me
like
see.
I have a family practice doctor, like my family practitioner, but then I also have a
There we go.
physiatrist for my spinal cord injury stuff because they're different. I can't go to the guy that
Oh,
treats me with my common cold. You ask him about my complex spinal cord injury stuff. It's just it doesn't work.
yeah,
Luis,
exactly.
you're back,
Luis, we
boss.
got you back.
I,
um,
I was talking on the other side to the chat room.
All right, no worries. That's cool. So yeah, we got you back. We're actually just kind of doing. Tom was giving some of his last like advice for somebody, talking about the importance of finding a good SCI doctor, a physiatrist that actually knows. Yeah, do you want to touch on any of that, or do you want to, Tom? I don't know if you want to wrap up you too. You're still if you're
No,
still
I'm good.
going.
Let's pass it over to Luis. I pretty much said my piece.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is check with your rehab center. Because a lot of times the rehab uh, will have specialists. For instance, a urologist.
Mm-hmm.
Most rehabs will have an additional urologist there. And if you go to your GP or someone at the local family clinic, they may not understand all the ins and outs of your spinal cord injury.
I
Where
just I
go
just did
ahead,
that.
Tom.
Luis. I just did that. I just wanted to say, like, I just went to my rehab place because I just started rehab at Casa Colina. And I asked my PT, I'm like, hey, I need a physiatrist recommendation. And he gave me like three different cards for physiatrists that he recommends at the rehab hospital. So great,
Exactly.
great, great advice because like I just did it. And I got some good names and some good recommendations.
Yeah, it makes all the difference because they know who knows what. And myself a few years ago, I went to my GP, my family doctor, and I had just met him, didn't know a thing about him, and it turns out that I had been injured longer than he had been alive. He just graduated from medical school and he knew nothing about spinal cord injuries whatsoever. And basically had to teach him, where if I had gone over to, like you said, Casa Colina, I live 10 minutes from Casa Colina. If I had just gone over there, I would have talked to someone who knew what they were talking about.
So
And
that's
that's
my
it's
experience. Go ahead, Sean.
I was gonna say, so for somebody like Luis, that's actually probably okay because he knows now enough about his body, his injury, and everything. He can tell the doctor what he kind of needs and how to do stuff. But somebody that's new and kind of just figuring this out, you really need that physiatrist, that doctor that knows, because if neither one of you know, it's gonna be a problem.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
And I mean, I would argue to say that it's not really okay, even as long as Lewis has been
um,
injured, because I'm facing that, and I was in the boat like a year ago, where I just thought I knew enough to kind of tell my doctors what I needed and figure it out, and I haven't had a physiatrist since I relocated to Southern California. It's been like 10 years since I saw Dr. Hutro and UCSF, and it's taken me a year to get to the right physiatrist. It was the same experience as you, Luis. Like I asked for a referral to a physiatrist. They sent me to a 26-year-old kid who like fresh out of medical school. Barely even knew
Yeah.
what I was talking about when I was like telling him my issues. And I told him at the end of it, I was like, I don't think you're the right doctor for me, man. I'm not saying it's anything against you. It's just I need someone with some experience in this. And then they
Yeah.
sent me to another physiatrist who is a pain management rehab specialist, but he's got like 30 years experience. And he told me, he was like, no, you need this kind of physiatrist. And I'm like, okay. can you help me get that kind of physiatrist? But like he's having to do like one-to-ones with my insurance to, justify why I need to see this certain kind of specialist and all this stuff. And it's been so difficult. It's been a really trying process. And the big pain in the ass is like I'm kind of struggling with my body. Like I've experienced a lot of issues in the last year. I need to talk to someone who has more knowledge than I do. And I got a lot of knowledge concerning spinal cord injury, but I can't diagnose myself. Like I can't figure out what's changing or what's going on, and it's been tough. So I would say try to stay on top of it. If you find a good physiatrist, stick with them and don't wait like I did to find a new one, because I'm wishing I did this like 2 or 3 years ago, or even right when I moved down here. Because if I had had someone who I could see regularly, like I feel like I would be in a lot better position health wise than I am. But
Yeah.
so I'm getting on it now.
Awesome, man.
Never too late to start.
Yeah. No,
And I
definitely.
also want to say, because Luis just said that, it is never too late to start. A lot of people rehab recovery. There's no time period, set time period for how long it takes for any individual. It's up to the individual, but it is never too late to stop or to like dive back into it, to start rehabilitating again, to get back into changing your lifestyle and changing and getting healthier, doing some different things. It I had the fortune of amazing caregivers my whole life with my brother and sister, my mom and dad, who were always around me. But in a lot of ways, like they didn't realize they were doing it, but they were just enabling me a lot. Like they would
Hmm.
just, my mom and dad would pick me up and transfer me every day, at night, in the morning. We had like my brother and sister would do a lot for me, cooking and cleaning, and just a lot of the things that I didn't take for granted. But it's just I wish I would have started on some of that stuff at a younger age, because I feel like I would have. I mean, it was 16 or 17 years until after my injury before I did my
Hmm.
first transfer. And I felt like it was a lot harder because I waited so long. But that being said, I'm like a transfer master now, so it's never too late to figure it out. It's just what I wanted to say. Like, it's okay to take a long time to rehab and recover and rehabilitate, to find yourself again. There's no time limit. So if you're stressing on, it's important to take care of your body in that time. Try to stay as active as you can. But, a lot of this stuff just takes time to get there, and it's never too late to figure it out.
You know, a big aspect to our conditions is it's like a doctor or nurse. They have to have continuing education, regardless of what their specialty or their field is. And we are kind of in that same situation. We need to keep learning about our conditions, what's new, what's different, what works for us, what doesn't. Um, I'm a big believer. People say, well, you can't understand something unless you've experienced it. Well, the same goes for doctors. We can't understand our doctors if we haven't been through the same programs or learned the same things that they have. Um, while I was in rehab, my neurologist, Dr. Waters, who's retired now, he actually used to bring me the same textbooks that he learned with in medical school. And he'd say, Luis, read this. I told you I was in rehab for a long time. I was bored a lot of the time. We didn't have smartphones back then. We didn't even have TVs in the rooms, and we had 6 people in a room. Um, it was, if any of you saw the old rehab, it was a scared straight of rehab. It was someplace very unique. Anyways, we'd read a lot. And so even still today, I have textbooks that doctors and my physical therapist used. Um, both of you have been to Rancho Los Amigos, and up on the side of the building, on the JPI building, it says the Jacqueline Perry Institute. Jacqueline Perry was my doctor. That was my
Oh,
physicist. Okay.
Wow.
And
yeah.
here in my bookshelf, I have a book that she wrote called Gait Analysis, which gait analysis is all about how to walk.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I've read that textbook 3 times in 40 years. I know it well. It was the same textbook that every physical therapist in the country has on their desk in rehab.
Yeah.
We need
I
to learn about our conditions.
Educating yourself is so important. My mom was. I was like I wasn't even 5 years old yet. I turned 5 in the hospital, and I was like laying in my hospital bed, the G tube and a broken jaw, my jaw wired shut, and a trach coming out of me, and my mom was sitting there with a spinal cord injury diagram explaining to me what happened, and like that
Yeah,
I got like a bruise on my spinal cord that it makes it so the wires that connect my brain to my muscles don't work, and my doctors came in like looking at her like crazy, you crazy lady, like what are you doing, like trying to educate this small child or like make him understand. But my mom's just a nerd about the human body, and trying to help me understand because I was sitting there scared, not
yeah,
understanding what was going on or why my body was different now. And that like that education that she's given me and that she's inspired me to pursue further, to learn
yeah.
about spinal cord injury and learn about how the central nervous system functions and how it all works. Like it has lent itself so much to my health and my rehabilitation because knowledge is power, knowledge is everything.
It
You know,
is.
the more the more you can help yourself, but the better you are able to communicate others to like what kind of help you need,
For your care,
which is
yeah.
probably the other most important part of it, whether it's to a caregiver or to a doctor or whoever it is. Sometimes it's just important to be able to explain to a friend or a person in your life what's going on with your injury and with your body and stuff. It can be super beneficial.
Yeah. Ben there in the chat makes an excellent point as well. We're talking about learning, and Ben's talking about the recreation and outdoor activities aspect of SCI, which is something else we need to do. Exercise is medicine.
Yes.
Yes.
And the more active we are in whatever capacity we can do it, helps us both physically, mentally, and emotionally. It's important.
Getting
Yeah.
outside, getting sunshine on your skin, getting dirt under your fingernails and under your
Yeah,
toenails, like get like it's important. It is an essential part of life because it feeds us. It feeds your soul and it feeds your brain. As much as like, and that feeds you physically. It really helps take care of you. Like my parents, they had us out at the lake. They had us, out and about, participate. Like I was back in school almost right away. Like out, like at recess with all the kids. Like the kickball come flying at my face, like all this
yeah,
stuff. But that's a part of it. Like it's just like put yourself back out there. But those things help you feel normal again. And when you're going through this initially, you feel the opposite of. But those moments where you do feel normal again, um, they'll make you feel good. They'll light that fire that'll, make you want to
yeah,
get more of those moments, and, like put yourself out there more and go after it. It just normalizes your life. You realize what you can do. You can be out there playing and having fun and participating just as you always did. And, it feels just the same, even if that physical act is different. And it's really important.
yeah.
Definitely.
I'm reading here also in the chat between Ben and Peter. They're talking about the VA, and all three of us, Tom, Shawn, Bobby, um, Robert, all of us, we go to the VA hospital in Long Beach, California, which has a specific spinal cord injury unit at that VA hospital. And I think I could pretty much say all of us here have been there to the VA spinal cord injury games in
Yep.
Long Beach. And
I actually haven't, but
we,
I want
we
to go.
you haven't. Okay, then you're going to go the next time we have it, which I think will be this next spring.
Yeah, I know they didn't do
Um,
it the last one.
during COVID, no.
Yeah.
But
I'm
we,
working out. I'm trying to work on audition for my spot in the rugby team, dude. I gotta talk to my homie
yeah,
Shawn over here, get on the
we
Hey,
team.
go to
just a
we
note,
go
Tom,
to
if
the
you
VA
want.
hospital and work with the people in the unit to get them outside of the unit and out in the parking lot. And Sean's out there pushing and shoving them around playing rugby, and
Yeah, we
I'm
play
playing
rugby. Yeah.
wheelchair basketball, and the other guys in the group were working with our vets to get them involved, get them moving and doing stuff. And
Yeah.
it's really important that whether it's at one hospital or another, that you do it as soon as you're capable of doing it, and then when you get home, keep staying active. Do
Yeah.
what you can.
Yeah, I think
And
staying active is one of the biggest things. For me, that's honestly what changed my life was once I got introduced to rugby and that sort of sports disability community. But I think in general, being part of the disability community in general, and if you're kind of afraid at first to be part of and you don't want to be out, like Tom said, you don't want to be out associating with wheelchair people, and I felt the same way initially until I kind of got with the rugby stuff, then just use social media and online stuff because that's what the beauty of today's age is. You don't have to actually involve yourself right away if you want. You can view from afar and see, but it's important to get the information and the knowledge because like that's what's going to help you kind of just help move along in your life and help with your recovery. But the sports thing is honestly just staying active. The more you move, the more you try to do for yourself, the more you work out. I feel like the more
Hmm.
you're going to recover, the more strength you're going to get, and the better you're going to feel in everyday life because your body is going to be healthier and stronger. So that's just my input.
Tom,
absolutely.
Tom, did you play any sports?
I did not. The
Even
only real exposure I got to like adaptive
maybe Powerball?
was I went to a couple adaptive like tennis tournaments. We
Hmm.
had this guy in my neighborhood. His name was Jeff. Oh my gosh, his last name will come to me. But he was a para, and he lived only a couple blocks away from me in
Hmm.
our neighborhood, and he was pretty involved in not only like the community in general, but the disabled community. And I went to a couple support groups with him, but both my parents came with me like every time I went, and they were always like over an hour away from where I lived.
Hmm.
And I just had a lot of stuff going on in life. Like it was always really hard to go. And the people that were there, it was like a couple dudes that were like 30 or 40 years older than me. And it wasn't that they weren't cool or amazing. And I kind of wish I did like stay in touch with them because they were like awesome people when I met them. But there was a little disconnect that I was just very young and I was like
Yeah.
having a hard time relating. But my activity was my mom and dad. Like
Hmm.
they just had us out and about every day, all the time. Like I'd always be getting out of my chair. We would go fishing every weekend. Me and my
Nice.
brother, we'd be out like playing sports in our front yard and backyard with all the neighbors' kids and stuff. And yeah, man, I was moving a mile a minute every day,
That's
all the
cool.
time. And it wasn't sports. My brother and sister did play sports, and I attended a lot of their functions, but I was just always the mascot on the sidelines. My big passion when I was younger was cinematography, and I spent a lot of time behind the camera. And me and my dad were like really, really into filming wildlife. We'd go out like adventure into like local wetlands and go to like local lakes and stuff and get out in nature all the time. But literally the act of getting up in your chair and moving your body
Yeah.
makes all the difference in the world. It's tough to be. It's hard on your body to be sedentary, like to be
Yes.
down and to not be moving. And when I'm talking about activity, like I'm not, gonna be out working out, like doing like these sports types of things.
Well, Peter's
Still,
out here pushing 4 to 6 miles a day, just so you
yeah, I
know.
mean,
But
there are crazy
Yeah.
guys like Peter, make us all look lazy and bad, but getting out in the garden, going out in your backyard, cruising around the neighborhood, rolling down to your local grocery, grocery store, fruit market, whatever, like just just getting out, the little things.
Yeah.
Spending, make sure you spend just hour or two outside if the weather permits. If not, like my big thing was and I always push this for quads, like video games and stuff. Like the reason I
Yeah.
have the dexterity and like the muscles, like in my arms that I do, like is because I was always jamming on a controller, trying to beat my brother at like GoldenEye and Smash Bros and all this stuff. And that was like fun activity, and I mean, it sounds like you're sitting there and playing video games. You're not moving your body, but for us, like
When
dexterity,
you're a quad,
motor
that
control
is like that's
is a
therapy, man.
huge part
That
of
is
it.
hard to do.
Yeah,
And then when super fun thing with like motion controls and stuff. Like we got the Wii when it first came out, and dude, we
yeah,
were still just dancing in the living room, like flinging my body all over, going crazy, getting all winded at the end of it. But stuff like
yeah.
that, it's so easy to do, and it's
Then
can
you
be
got the
super fun.
Oculus.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Get
Yeah.
yourself some VR, and yeah, get your body moving in some VR. But little fun things like that you do regularly can be so good for you, so good for your body. And they are like pretty
Hundred
essential for
percent.
like a healthy body. As a quad, as a pair, is like just spinal cord is just what we got to do. We got to
So,
maintain it.
so Tom, I got a really important question for you,
Yeah,
and
hit me.
it's vital.
All right.
Alliance or Horde?
Ooh, um,
Gamer talk.
horde, bro, horde.
Horde. Oh man.
You gamers are funny.
Definitely, Luis. We got to talk about some old games, man. What we should do is like break out some like OG StarCraft, and play
Hey,
StarCraft. Was
you know who would
insane
be a
back then.
great because a lot of Live to Roll is not just Paris, but we got the Quad Squad, and we could get someone like Steve Spoon from Able Gamers to come and speak on Live to Roll.
Yeah,
That would
we
be cool.
actually did a gaming episode where we had a
I
um,
remember that.
well,
Yeah,
um, he. We did do a specific gaming episode, right, Sean?
Yeah, we
yeah.
did. Yeah,
We had
yeah, we
someone
did
on who
the
was just a
adaptive.
gamer.
Do
Yeah, we
some
just had
more.
a game streamer. One of my buddies from rugby,
Yeah,
Astro
yeah, yeah.
Flea.
Yeah, he did
Yeah,
like No Man's Sky and like all this cool stuff. Yeah, no, it was awesome. Um, no, definitely. Me and Sean have been talking about doing like literal gaming, and maybe like once a month, like I'll play and like stream with someone, and we'll actually play a game, and maybe like stream ourselves playing so we can show how we do it.
yeah.
But yeah, that'd be super fun.
If
Um,
you guys see my username on the chat here, um, I don't see it,
Yeah.
but
Oh wait, no,
it's
sorry. Yeah.
yeah, it says Game
Now it's
X
on there.
Bar.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, see that right there? I actually used to publish that. I was the publisher of apps for MMO games. So I created middleware products for like Electronic Arts, Activision, Blizzard, Riot, um,
Man,
CCP, which does
you're so
EVE
cool,
Online.
Luis. You're
I
so
know, Luis
cool,
is
bro.
awesome, man.
You're
No, no,
like
it
a
wasn't cool.
software
It was
developer on the middle end of like MMOs, bro. Like that stuff is crazy. I can't imagine what it was like, back in like like early '90s programming that stuff, dude. That's so
right here, right here. Let's reach right over here.
there you
Still in the
go.
box.
Nice.
There
That
you
is so
go.
awesome. That is so cool.
Let's see here.
Yeah,
What
that's
else we
awesome.
got?
Oh, shoot.
There you go.
Nice.
Warhammer Online.
That is so sick.
Now,
Oh man, I
if you're
totally.
playing Warhammer, you're pretty hardcore.
Yeah, no, that is a really hardcore one. I see Dragon Age
Oh,
there too. That's another good one.
RPGs, Dragon
Oh
Age.
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, me and Luis could talk for days on this topic. So, Luis, I've just been getting into The Witcher 3 and then Fallout 4. Um,
Yeah,
but, yeah, dude,
Cool.
I'd love to talk some MMOs and play some games.
Yeah, well, maybe I have to do another gamer talk for you guys here. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I know we
but
can stop boring the people who are still watching. Sorry for
yeah,
the sidetrack. Is there anything else? The way we wrap it up, Luis, is we ask our guests if they have any, last advice for, kind of on the topic, for any newly injured individuals out there. But it could just be life
Yeah,
advice, general advice for anybody watching.
I'm kind of reading through the chat here and looking at. Oh my God, Peter wants to get back into paintball.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
nice.
what I
Oh
just saw.
man, I used to play laser tag. Even with my
Uh,
disability, I played laser tag.
I would play laser tag and I would tuck the back part of the vest behind my backrest and in between my back, so they couldn't shoot me from behind.
Nice.
Okay,
all right.
where did I see it here? Peter says here he's a paratrooper. They ran everywhere. Just so you know, Peter, the way I got injured, I was a derrick hand on an oil rig. So I understand heights. About that, being a paratrooper, I understand the height.
Also,
It's
shout
all
out
good until you hit the ground.
men, for your service. We really appreciate you guys and all the vets
Yeah.
out there. A lot of love to the vets. And
Yeah,
go
you
team
vets
USA.
rock.
I got Olympic fever, baby. It's about to start in 4 minutes on prime time. Shout out NBC, sponsor us. But go Team USA for the Olympics.
Yeah, hasn't been a great start for U.S. so far this summer, but hopefully gets on track.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you know what I'm looking forward to is
So-
we're starting to get some outdoor activities again. So we'll be able to start to talk about some of these things that are coming up that we're going to be able to do again out in the community.
Yeah, just to shout that out, this coming up Saturday, I will be in Huntington Beach with the Triumph Foundation for a hand cycling clinic. We're going to be hand cycling on the beach.
I'll be there with Shawn.
So I think there's still spaces available. You can sign up on the Triumph website. And I think we're going to be hanging out afterwards. And so a good time if anybody is interested. Triumph Foundation,
Yeah,
Southern
those-
California.
Those Triumph after parties.
But yeah, so I'm loving getting back into the activities and getting back outdoors and stuff. So that's one thing. I'll do my wrap up real quick here for everybody, and you guys can kind of give some little last minute advice, and then we'll wrap up. But I would just say, since it is the summer and things are opening up, if you have the chance, try to get out and do some stuff. Like, I know it's still a little dangerous. Wear your mask if you need, you're not feeling safe. Maybe not try to go into huge crowds or just stay outdoors. But it's a great time. Enjoy the summer and get out. And honestly, that's such a big part of rehab is the mental, just getting out and enjoying life. So that's my last minute advice for everybody here. My last final.
We appreciate you, Shawn, dude. You're so awesome for producing the show every week. Sitting there on the keyboards, making us all look good on these cameras, and mixes this whole thing and put it together. We really appreciate you, bro.
Thanks, man.
So awesome. And just to reiterate what Shawn said, go get some sunshine. Go dance in the sunshine. It'll make you feel good. Wear your mask. Stay safe. COVID's popping up more here in LA. So it is important to stay safe. Keeping the podcast PC, but don't get vaccinated if you aren't. Please protect yourself and your loved ones. I think it's important. Just take care of yourself and get some sunshine. Get outside. Start moving your bodies. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Smash that like button.
Yes, please like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram as well. All of our Instagram handles are in the description and on the screen, obviously. But we appreciate you guys. And one more last shout out to Ben and all of the super chats. Thank you again, bro. We appreciate you so much for supporting the channel. And as soon as I get hoodies made, which I'm working on now, you're getting a hoodie, bro. So, and we're doing that smoke sesh. So, anyways, thank you, everybody.
Luis, thank you so much for joining us today, man. We
appreciate you, Luis.
Anytime.
Appreciate all the awesome advice and all your wisdom and knowledge you sharing with us. And man, can't wait to hang out soon.
Next time you're out, Tom, you're out this way, you're doing a trip to Casa.
August 6th.
We're going to do some tacos and cervezas.
Put it on your calendar, August 6th. I'll be out there.
We'll do it. We're scheduling it now, live on the air. Bam.
Yeah, that'll work.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We appreciate everybody. Thank you guys, Tom and Louise. And we'll see you guys next week.